right, everyone. Trying to wait for Jrod to get up in here. Send him the invite. We don't know exactly how this is going to go, what it sounds like, but we're going to definitely give it a go. This is something different. We're used to doing a live recording on YouTube and or just a pre-recording, obviously, and then uploading it. And it was like, hey, why don't we try Twitter Spaces? Create it like an actual podcast and go from there. So here comes Jay in here now. So let me get there we go. Okay. I think I there we are. And Jay is on there. All right, Jay. I think I even sent it where it said co-host. Let me see if I can okay, good. All right, you're in there now. Awesome, Jay. Jay, can you? This is Jay Rod. If everybody's wondering, so forgive us as we're trying to get this going. Jay, do I sound good on your end? And how about you say something for me?
Yeah, I said, yeah, I can hear you just fine, man, just fine.
Awesome. Okay, so obviously, this is Sports Talk with Local John 1812, and
J Rod 84.
this is the first time we've been together in a while. Like I was telling them before when we were first starting it up here, just to get it going, Jay, that we usually do like on YouTube and stuff like that. And so we didn't get together to record, but I saw TJ Walker from Kentucky Roll Call was doing Twitter Spaces, and I was like, hey, Jay and I can do that easily. Let's give it a shot. Maybe some other people will join. We'll get a little bit of an audience, but it's really cool. And tonight, of course, the big thing to talk about would be the March Madness bracket. So Jay, hey Jay, whenever you get ready to talk, I'm going to cut my mic where it says on. I'm going to take mine off so that way you don't have any background. And same thing, that way we'll hear, really good either way we go. So Jay, why don't you go ahead and start us off with what you thought of the selection show tonight?
I think it went how I how I thought it would. I mean, said every just about every team that I thought would get in, they did. They ended up getting in, and probably like maybe a few surprises here and there. As in between in between the conferences because I mean I said that this year was as wild of a season as it has been in some time. So I kind of figure, say when it came time for the selection show, I was like, the bubble is bigger than it's ever been. It's like a lot of teams are gonna, it's like a lot of teams are probably gonna feel like they got left out, regardless of what they did. I mean, that's the case every year, but this year, it's just much different.
Yeah, definitely a weird situation not seeing North Carolina in this year's tournament. Of course, they didn't do enough to get in, anyways, and not trying to make a case for them, but just saying this in general, it's kind of like looking up at your bracket, not seeing a Kentucky or a Duke or a North Carolina. Those things can be strange for people because most of our adult lives and even in our childhood, we've seen those teams always in the tournament. So, kind of strange, but it happens, right? I mean, it happens.
Yep, it does. It does.
So looking at the bracket, I thought Kentucky got a very favorable matchup. A favorable draw. We thought that last year too, with obviously our first round, playing St. Peter's, and we thought the rest of the draw looked good. But I'm still confident this year that we did get a good draw. I thought, sometimes we go, man, the selection committee doesn't give Kentucky any breaks. And I'm not saying they gave Kentucky breaks, but man, I really do feel like looking at this that we kind of got some breaks here. I mean, Marquette as being the toughest team probably down there that we may play. I mean, Michigan State pretty well struggled all year. Providence has been, iffy as well, just like we have. But I I'm going to get a little bit more into that here in a second. But what do you feel about the draw? Do you like the draw?
I definitely like the draw. This has probably been the most favorable draw that Kentucky's had in quite some time in the tournament. As, yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, I really like it. Just And I was seeing a lot of the experts saying, that our loss to Vandy on Friday night, it cost us a seed line. But that actually to me became a blessing in disguise, because they put us on as a sixth seed, which you know what, I'm okay with this, because I said, well, this was the type of year around college basketball where a team could have like 9 or 10 losses and get a top four seed. I said Baylor got one, Indiana got one, etc. But I see, Kentucky getting the sixth seed. That's great. You know what I'm saying? That's really good. And considering especially that they turned it on over the last month. Just I see, just think about it, probably like the middle of February. I see, Kentucky was basically on the outside looking in, and then some, they started winning, and other teams around them, started winning and losing, to help build Kentucky's resume. So I I mean, I'm not mad at this. I'm not mad at this draw at all. And like I said, if Kentucky plays the way we know they can play, I don't see any reason why they can't get to New York City for the for the East Regional. I mean, I'm not saying they're gonna get lucky and get a little redemption, for some teams along the way, because against Kansas State from 2018, Michigan State from earlier this year, and possibly with Marquette, because like I said, Marquette is kind of like the toughest team in like the bottom half of the bracket, and of course, and Marquette has taken Kentucky out of the tournament a few times, so. And honestly, I mean, looking at the top half of the bracket, say with Purdue, Duke, Tennessee, um, I said all of those teams are good. I said, but they're not invincible. I mean, all three teams, have flaws. That's they have all the teams have flaws. But like I said, if Kentucky plays like they should play, I don't see no reason why they can't get to Sweet 16 or Elite Eight or possibly Final Four. That depends.
Yeah, completely agree with you. And I was thinking about some stuff here, and I'm going to go ahead and kind of give a little bit of a thought process like you did there, and then I'm going to go straight into possibly going over. I don't want to go game by game. We'd be here on this space all night because there's so many games to go by. But I will jump immediately to who I think will be in the Final Four, and then I'll let you pick your Final Four, and then we'll go into championship talk. And let's be honest here, we're both big fanboys of Kentucky. We love it. We bleed blue, and we're always going to bleed blue. So uh, when we make our first brackets, I think it's like a superstitious thing, and some people believe completely in it and superstition, and some don't. But um, from a superstition standpoint, we always immediately take our favorite team and put them into the championship. So we can kind of go ahead and rest assured, anybody here listening for Kentucky fan base, you know these two fanboys are definitely going to do that, at least for our first bracket. Your first bracket as a fan, ultimate fan, you have to move your team to the front of the line and say they're going to win. That's it. Now, if you have multiple other brackets, you can mess around, do whatever. But it's a superstition thing for me that I have to do that. But in saying that, though, let me get back to kind of like a little discussion part here where I think what will happen with Kentucky and why I think we are capable of even just saying beyond a superstition standpoint that we are capable of winning. And one thing I want to say is all year long, I mean, we've dealt with uncertainty of who's part of the team because of all different kinds of circumstances, and we've dealt with rumors of division in the locker room. We've dealt with people being injured and players being injured. And poor Collins, he lost his a family member, his father, I believe. That was so sad and heartbreaking for him. And he had all that at the beginning of the season area, and that messed up some of his progression. And I'm so sad for his whole family, and I pray for them all the time because it's just so heartbreaking. And that puts extra stress on him as a young man. And I still pray for him and his family. And but even beyond those points, we still had, you got Willer. He's hurt now and he's been out for a while. You had at the beginning, you had Collins rolling around with a lower back injury, wasn't able to play up to his standards. Then you've got CJ wearing some type of rib jacket or something's going on, and he was hurt, and he had another injury besides that, at a different part. So Kentucky, when we talk about the Cats, and we look at their injury history and then the other circumstances, and then all the negativity surrounding, is Cal going? Should Cal go? Is he done? Is he washed up? All that convoluted into basically them struggling to find out an identity of who they were. And it took them a really long time to find out anything. And then I think when they get ready to find out something, Wheeler goes down, CJ goes down. And then they couldn't find out those two because those two were gone. And everybody kept on saying, well, now that Wheeler's gone, Wallace is going to be great. And this is good. And Wallace did do good. He didn't do bad. He did great. And it was a good thing. But then we saw Wallace get hurt because I think Wallace was overextending his minutes because you didn't have Wheeler to come in there and spell him out. And so then that's why you had some issues with that area where Wallace ends up getting hurt. And so then he was able to play in the SEC tournament. But I don't think Wallace was ready to play in that SEC tournament. I think we wanted to keep winning to improve our seeding, and it was one of those years where the SEC tournament did really matter for us. And it was unfortunate just that it didn't work out. So, in saying that, that's why I think we are where we are at. I don't think we are where we are at because we're horrible or we're not that great of a team. I think it was just a bunch of circumstantial things that occurred. And, our fan base, some of our fan base did not help with that because of the negativity they just threw. I understand you can be upset with the coaching staff, even with the players. But there's a point of being upset and not approving of what's going on. And then there's another point of being belligerent and just angry and rude. And sometimes you don't even really have a good standing on what you're saying. Just run your mouth too much, you know? And so I felt like some of the fan base did that. And I'm not perfect. I've done that before in the past. I've said plenty of times that John Calipari may be on the hot seat. But after I said he may be on the hot seat or that he is on the hot seat, I didn't go any further and call him any type of names or any of the team member names. So from here on out, as Kentucky fans, if you're going to be doing that, then I question if you're a true fan at all. Like I said, it's one thing to question how good the staff's doing or the players might be playing, but it's another thing to start calling them names or putting them down or anything of that. Because if you're doing that, then I don't really count you as a fan. So from there, I'm going to go ahead and get into the what I think may happen in my final four picks. And I've got Alabama because I believe they're the best in the South. And I have Kentucky going in the East because I don't fear anybody of our early matchups, especially even Marquette, and I definitely don't fear Purdue because they just don't have the guards that we usually have problems with. And Edey will have his problems with Big O, and Big O can give Edey problems, so we're going to be okay in there. And then I have Houston and Gonzaga. And the tell of the tape here for me is this. Think about this scenario. You got Houston and Alabama. They are the two teams that may not have been completely in that top three team consideration to win the national championship at the beginning of the season, top three or four. They were somewhere, in 25 land, 10 land, wherever. I'd have to go all the way back to really quite remember where they were in pre-rankings at all. But I know for sure they weren't in that top four teams or so. It was more Gonzaga, Kentucky, Kansas, somebody of that nature. Maybe even North Carolina, I can't remember. But it was those type of teams that were up there. And Kentucky and Gonzaga both have taken steps back. Hence why Gonzaga is a 3 seed and not a 1 seed like usual, 1 or 2 seed. So they have taken steps back. And I feel like this is what's going to happen in the NCAA tournament here. I feel like it's going to be a 1-1-3-6. That's the final four numbers, 1-1-3-6. And I believe Kentucky beats Alabama because they're going to finally be full healthy together and they're going to have a good run. And I think Kentucky beats Alabama, and I think Gonzaga beats Houston. And we get a rematch of Kentucky versus Gonzaga. That game was different than what the outcome told us at the beginning of the year. And I think Kentucky gets revenge on Gonzaga and beats Gonzaga for the national championship. Jay, that's what I think is going to happen. Tell me what you think is going to happen.
Well, I see mine is somewhat similar. I see, like I said, I have Kentucky, in the East, coming out of the East. Out of the South, I I actually went with Arizona. Yeah, I actually went with Arizona. Let's see. The Midwest, I had Houston, and in the West, excuse me, I'm sorry. I think it's the Oh God, what region? Okay, hold on. Let's see. Kentucky in the East, Arizona in the South, Houston in the Midwest, and the West, UCLA. See, yeah, I see. Yeah, I picked UCLA because mainly because I think you know, see, UCLA, I mean, they don't score a lot, but they do defend a lot. Of course, the mantra around this time of the year is offense wins games. Defense is usually the thing that helps you win a championship. And UCLA does play tight nosed defense. I mean, it was evident, which I kind of thought UCLA would win the Pac-12 title game last night against Arizona, but I mean it was low scoring, and UCLA lost. But that's the kind that UCLA likes to play. Which, given what Kentucky's done, I mean they can hang with UCLA. It would be a much different outcome than the first time when we played in December, which we probably should have beat UCLA then. Um, I said Houston, which I actually have Kentucky and Houston playing in the championship game with Kentucky winning. I said, you know, Houston, Houston. I said Houston's been one of these teams that's been under the radar for like the last five, about the last 5 seasons or so. I mean, they've been consistently good. I know they didn't have Marcus Sasser, for the day for them in the American title game against Memphis today, but I mean that still doesn't take away from the fact that they're a 1 seed and they're very much capable of going to the Final Four. Arizona, I picked out of the South because that's because because Arizona, they're out there. Arizona is just as good as anybody else in the country, but I'm guessing they probably don't get enough love. I guess probably because they play on. Let's see, they're in the Pac-12 and their games come on so late at night, so you don't see them. But but Arizona is good. I mean, it's sneaky, and plus, I had them going. I have them going to the Final Four. Maybe it's been a while. It's been quite some time since any team of the West outside the Western United States has won the national title, which Arizona was actually the last team in the Western U.S. to do it back in '97. And of course, like I said, in the East, I have Kentucky. As if, like I said, this is a favorable. This is probably the most favorable draw that Kentucky's had in the NCAA's in a long time, very long time. And like we were saying before, like I was saying before, if Kentucky plays the way that we know the Cats have been inconsistent, they've been like night and day this year. But if they play the way they should play, I don't see any reason why they cannot. Like they can get to New York City for the Sweet 16 and Elite Eight, and after that they can get to Houston. I don't see any reason why not. I mean, I said if so, I would love to, and if so, I would love to see a lot of these fans that have been dogging Kentucky all year. I would love to see them eat crow because I've seen them feel really stupid, for all the negativity that they've thrown around. I see, not just this year, but probably like last year and the year before.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's like we were saying earlier. I mean, it's not that you can't be constructive criticism or you. It's not saying that you can't ever be negative as a fan, but when you take the negativity to a certain level. I heard rumors back in the day that when Tubby Smith was there, they would take signs and put it in his yard and tell him to, house for sale and stuff like that. If you're doing stuff like that, you're writing, and now we can see that it's going to be a lot easier to get under people's skin through social media. So if you're writing and you're DMing these players and you're saying negative things such as that, then you're going a little bit beyond just constructive criticism and beyond being a negative fan. You're going into excessive negativity, and that's when it can become even crazier, criminal in some aspects. I mean, and
Absolutely.
sometimes it's not even a full laughing matter. It's pretty sad. Um, I was going to say if so, we already know. I went what 1136.
I,
Jay,
I
what
had
was your
I had
numbers?
I had 2, 6, 1, and 2.
Okay, 2, 6, 1, and 2. And so let's just hypothetically. Okay, here it is. So as fanboys. because that's what we're going to call ourselves when we're this diehard of Kentucky fans. Of course, we're going to have them in the championship game, and we're going to put them there. Let's pretend that Kentucky wins a game or two, but something happens and they don't make it. They don't make it, right? Who replaces Kentucky, and then how does that affect your championship? I would say if they don't make it, I'm putting Purdue there, and I'll put Purdue to go to the national championship against Gonzaga, and I would have Purdue win the national championship. I do like Purdue. Everybody always questions their guard play. Uh, yeah, that's true. If they're going to run into a good high octane defensive team that can really put pressure on guards and cause turnovers, then Purdue may have a problem. But you got to understand that they have this big aircraft carrier down low that is almost like Oscar, and those two guys there are just hard to stop. So if they can get 30 something points out of them, and 18 rebounds, it's going to be hard. I don't care how many times you turn their point guards over, it'll be still hard to beat them even with that type of numbers. So I guess mine would go 1-1-1-3 if that would happen, and I would have Purdue beating Alabama, Gonzaga beating Houston, and then Purdue beating Gonzaga. Once again, Gonzaga's so close, but can't get the job done. Um, what would you say, Jay, if hypothetically something happened to Kentucky and they just weren't there? But we know they're going to be, and we know they're going to win the national championship. We're just going to give a hypothetical just in case. Basically, give us your second bracket. Who would take Kentucky's place, and how far else would they go?
Well, honestly, I'm on the same page as you. I'll have to go to. I'll have to go with Purdue. I'll just have to go with Purdue. I mean, just like I said, I mean, I see, probably a lot of Fed, experts probably say, Purdue hasn't necessarily looked like I guess you want to call it like a world national, a real contender, probably as of the last few weeks, but still, I mean, say, Purdue. I see they got all the tools they need. Like I said, they got the Jolly Giant that is Zach Edey down low. I mean, say what he's basically, like a walk-in double double. I see you can guarantee that he's gonna get his like 20 to 25 points and 10 to 15 rebounds every time he steps on the court, which is what he's done in pretty much every game this year. I mean, say the guard play. I mean, say Purdue does have some guards. It might be a little. I mean, so Purdue has a young backcourt, but still, I mean that. I mean, let's say you can trust, that they'll get that they'll help, get the job done. I mean, because like I said, Purdue's been close but no cigars so many times. Which I personally, if you go back to the 2019 Purdue team that had Carson Edwards on there, they, I said they were probably just like a couple of seconds away from the Final Four until the last second shot at the end of regulation by Virginia, sent it into overtime, and then Purdue ended up losing. But I don't know, this time around it might be a little different. Which I kind of what I said before, earlier that Purdue was probably be one of the first one seeds eliminated, but I mean I don't know. Well, looking at the top half, I say Purdue's almost like certain to go to the Sweet 16. Now, whatever happens after that, they should be able to because they'll have to play either Duke or Tennessee or whoever. But honestly, yeah, I'm on the same page. I know if the Cats aren't going to make it to Houston, then I'll pick the Boilermakers to go. If they could possibly end the Big Ten's championship drought.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, see, I agree with you. I think just Edie is just somebody that's very special, just like Oscar is, and we're not going to see many guys like that all the time in college basketball. And so, sunshine does shine on everyone that deserves it every once in a while, and these guys here deserve it, like Oscar and Edie, especially Big Oscar, man. He came back when everybody says, well, the NBA necessarily didn't want him, but Oscar could have left and played overseas, could have played in the G League, could have made some other money with his smile and his charisma. I mean, he could have got endorsement deals somehow. I mean, the guy is a great guy, and so I'm glad he did come back. And I know he's been saying that he come back to win a championship. So everybody's like, well, Kentucky's so up and down, and it's impossible probably for them to win a championship. When you have a guy that has a heart like Oscar does, and he's telling you he came back to win a championship, that's another reason why else besides just being a fanboy that I honestly pick Kentucky because I know Oscar is going to do everything he can. I know it's a team effort, and it's not going to be just Oscar, but I know he'll do everything he can to try to get this job done and win this championship. Give us number 9. That would be nice. And it would set us up for back to back championships because with the recruiting class we have coming in next year, and with maybe a holdover or so or two from this team, obviously, then we definitely have a shot to go back to back. And then I could see Mr. Cal. Depending on how the recruiting cycle looking after the next season, if he went back to back, I could really see him like maybe ride out into the sunset and just go along and retire if he won back to back. It'd be nice. So that's kind of where I'm at with everything, and I think it's going to be interesting in NCAA tournament. And I was very happy that Jay and I could get together on this, sports talk with Local John 1812 and Jrod 84. And Jay, do you have anything else? Parting words before I tell them where they can find all of us at real quick, and then we'll sign off. Do you have any other parting words?
Well, I don't really have a lot of parting words. Well, probably just accept, that, say like this, let's say like this of all the major like like sporting events, around throughout the year. I mean, I don't know. It's really just something about March Madness, that just really draws to me. I say it's my absolute favorite time of the year. Probably just the only thing that I wish I would have done is I should have took off Thursday and Friday from work so I can just stay at home and watch all the games all day. But thankfully I can watch them from work.
Definitely. I hear you on wanting to take off and have that time off. That would have been nice. Um, we've got someone here wanting to come on real quick. Let me see here. Let me hit the request and okay, Slam Man King. All right, let me hit approve here. All right. Okay, how's it going? And what do you want to say tonight?
Well, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate that. And I just want to
No
say about
problem.
the
No
whole
problem at all.
March Madness bracket. I think it's an absolute disgrace to sports history. Like to put Houston at number one, it's a very bad look for the D1 college. So it's very bad.
Who would you say there that you believe should have been there in that one position instead of Houston?
What do you mean? Like which division are you talking about? Like
Just in general, because we know Houston's a 1 seed. So who did you have in mind in the bracket now that's in the field that you're like, hey, Houston should have been a 3 seed or a 4 seed, and this team should have been a
nah,
1 seed?
Houston should
Like,
have never
who
been
would?
a one seed in the first place, but I thought they're like a top five team. They're not the best team in the overall in the country. I was making a statement like, can we really like, are we really putting Houston over Gonzaga? Like, are we serious here? Like it's hard to believe, but it is D1 basketball. So at the end of the day, it's all that matters is you get in. That's all that matters about like make your spot, get in, and compete. But it's pretty embarrassing um, to the entire NCAA basketball in March Madness put Houston at number one over Gonzaga. That's very sad.
Yeah, and I, we were before you guys came in, we were gonna we were wrapping up our show here. Me and Jay do this sports talk show, and we've done it on YouTube, and we used to do that, and then this is Twitter Spaces allow us to do it just pretty easy here for us. But we were going to say, I said my final four was Alabama, Houston, Kentucky, Gonzaga. Why do we say
I have a
Kentucky? We're
problem. Yeah, I have a
fanboys of
problem with
Kentucky.
Kentucky being in there. I just don't think they're. I think they're like got lucky last year. I just don't think they're a legit contender. Obviously you got the all-time greats who went through here, but let's be real, they're not a legit contender as far as this year goes.
the reason why Kentucky did get in is because they did win 5 of their last 6, which including beating Tennessee
Yeah,
for
I
that
know, but
second
it's
time. That
bullshit.
helped
Like
Kentucky get
so
in.
many other good teams, and you put Kentucky. Like, really? Are we serious here?
So this whole big thing about BPI, RPI, if we're going by quad one wins, if we're going by the eye test, it's so sporadic. They should have one system that definitely ranks everybody into play, and then they say these are the top teams and these are who are getting in. That's what they should do. Unfortunately, they don't really do it that way. So we have to live with what they have done. Now, I mean, let's look at Indiana. They have 21 wins and I think 10 or 11 losses themselves. Kentucky's in the same boat, but Indiana's a 4 seed. So if we're going to say Kentucky's a disgrace, then Indiana's a disgrace. I mean, I'm just saying. So, I mean, like, we have a bunch of teams this year with 10 or 11 losses. I mean, it's not like, it's just, it's not out of the norm. So
Yeah,
I hear what you're
Yeah,
saying.
I know.
I hear
And
what you're
also,
saying, but I'm
Oklahoma
just
State
saying.
not making it was very. It's very unsatisfying.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be weird this year too. We're not going to see, and I'm not saying they deserve to be in, but weird not to see North Carolina in. It's just it's one of those years, but it is the way the cookie crumbled. So what I would say is you look at your brackets, you fill them out still, and you have some fun with this tournament and just see where they may lay. Look, Kentucky's battled injuries all year long. They've battled uncertainty. They've had a fan base that's been divided. They've had a fan base that said, well, I don't know if I should root for this team anymore. I don't know if I agree with Calipari. Should he go away? All this crap. And it was just a big thing on every single one of our players. It was a big distraction. So hopefully in this tournament, you don't have to be great for 30 something games anymore. You only have to be great for as big as how many games are in this tournament. That's all you got to be great for, one game at a time. And so if that happens and they win, that's good. If they don't, they don't. We do have someone else that wants to come on and talk. Let me get them on here real quick. Okay. Who do we have on here talking with us now? Anybody? There we go.
I said, I guess he left.
He left. Okay, that's okay. Yeah, no, it's just one of those things. Like I heard what Slam Man King was saying, and to each their own. We're Kentucky fans. Hey, all I'm saying is, if Kentucky was a disgrace at 21 wins or so and 10 or 11 losses, so is everybody else who has 10 or 11 losses, and
Yeah,
there
yeah,
and that's
yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I probably want to say, disgraceful, in a sense. I mean, just like I said, this was the type of year where, like I said, a team can have like 9, 10, or 11 losses and be a top 4 seed. Just like I said, Indiana's a 4, Baylor's a 3, Kansas State is a 3, and all of them have 9 to 11 losses. So I'm like I said, this was just that year, that type of year. I mean, you take a look. Kansas is a 1 seed, but they have 7 losses, but a lot of their wins are like quad one. So I mean, just like I said, this was a year where not one team was just like head and shoulders above everybody else.
and I still and Jay, I still feel like that is the case right now. And just picking back off what was said just a few minutes ago, like that's the way I feel right now. Is just that anybody can beat anybody at this point in time. Like I really do. Alabama is going to be tough. They've got studs on that team. And we know we hear the knock against Houston because they're not the one of those big name programs that everybody's used to hearing. But Calvin Sampson can coach, bro. He can flat out. He's a good coach. He
Oh,
is a good
definitely,
coach.
you definitely can.
It, yeah. So when people want to talk about, I mean, it's your team level, is your coaching staff all the way down to your players and your recruiters. It's the whole thing. And when you got a coach like Calvin Sampson, he can coach. He can flat out coach. Houston will be ready. But when we look at Kentucky, people can say what they want to say, but from tip one, not in the Bahamas, but from when the season started to where we are now, We have had so many ups and downs on injuries and unknowns and uncertainties and distractions because of the Calipari situation that we haven't even seen a full 100%, no one nagging over an injury, no one talking crap Kentucky basketball team. We have seen bits and pieces. At sometimes, I think the most we got close to a complete team is probably like 75%. And of course, I'm pulling that number out my butt. I'm making it up. But I'm just saying, based on the eye test in my ears and what I listen to on sports radio and ESPN and Kentucky Roll Call and all that, I'm telling you, we haven't seen what Kentucky can truly give you. If you had a healthy CJ and he was knocking down shots with a Reeves knocking down shots, and you had a healthy Wallace and never had the lower back injuries, and you had Oscar down there playing with Toppin, and Toppin was playing the way he's playing now at the beginning of the year, Kentucky doesn't have 10 losses or 11 losses. Kentucky has like 6 or less. That's the point. And if people can't see that, then you may not completely know enough about Kentucky or enough about college basketball to really comment on that as such as that to a certain standpoint. Because if you didn't follow those teams all the way, then how can you completely say they don't deserve to be there or they weren't there? And furthermore, Kentucky definitely deserved to be in the tournament. Like I said earlier, and I was looking at the bracket here. When I look over, and I hate to keep picking on Indiana, but they're a team that's 22-11. Kentucky 21-11. So I mean, and so when we go look at Providence, who we're playing is 21-11. If we go up to the other six, Creighton 21-12. Let's go over here and look at number 9, Auburn 20-12. Iowa 19-13. Xavier 25-9. So I can keep going on and on and on. Penn State 22-13 as a 10. So point of what I'm trying to say is, no matter what anybody wants to say, there was a bunch of teams with 9 or more losses this year that made the tournament. And did Houston deserve their 1 seed? Yes, they did. Calvin Sampson can coach. Houston will be there towards the end. And I'm satisfied with my 1-1-3-6 pick. And I like what I picked there. And I think it's good teams. And I'm glad the Cats are in. So, in saying all that, I'm glad we got some people to come on and talk. Slam Man King, thank you for coming on and talk. Anybody else who tried to come in, I tried to add you correctly. Hopefully I did, or if it kicked you out, I apologize. But no offense to anybody, no offense to Slam Man King or anything of that nature. Just stating our opinions, and that's just how we do. So, if you guys want to hear more of the sports talk with Local John 1812 and Jrod 84, you can keep an eye out by following myself on Twitter and also Mr. J Rod here on Twitter as well. Follow us on there because when we go live, you'll know because you're following us. Hit that little notification area over there about all our tweets and everything of that nature. But also, we're going to upload this to YouTube, hopefully, and you can find us on there at Local John 1812 on YouTube. Just type in what you see there right there on the screen, LLCALJOHN 1812. And we will upload to there as well on YouTube. It'll basically be this. So if you're popping in late, you're hearing some stuff late and you want to hear the whole thing, just look for the recording on Twitter Spaces or even go over to the Local John 1812 YouTube channel and check us out there. Subscribe there. We'd love it. We love it when people watch our sports show. The Local John 1812 channel is my channel, and Jay's been on there plenty of times with me doing sports and other things. And we do all kinds of variety stuff on there as well. So we enjoy it. We enjoy it. So
Yeah, we
I
really
just want to
do.
say thank you, Jay, for coming on. It's always good to be together on here.
Oh, absolutely. I said absolutely. And you know what I'm saying. I'll just kind of throw it out there. If somehow to, if Kentucky somehow makes it to Houston, if they, I said if they do, I said yeah, I said yeah, we'll definitely have to do one. And I said I said make sure that's a little bit bigger. I said
Oh yeah,
I said yeah,
we might even drive all the way out to Houston and do it live.
I
That would
mean,
be
hey, look,
great. That would be great.
I said, yeah, I mean, listen, look, it's about a 12, 13 hour drive, but it would be worth it.
Hey, I wouldn't even care if I wasn't able to go completely in the stadium. If I was outside the stadium in the parking lot, I'd watch it on my phone or a TV somehow, and we could go live on Twitter Spaces there and just have a ball.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, man, this was awesome. I'm glad we got on there. Thanks everybody once again, and
Yes, thank you.
we love listening to y'all. So, all right, Jay, I'm gonna end it, and we'll see if I can make sure I get this uploaded on YouTube. And if it does, brother, then from here on out, we can definitely do this really easy every time, almost after every game, and get something rolling here really quickly, which would be nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, Jay, I will catch you in a few. I'll call you probably tomorrow or so, but if you need me, you know where to reach me, and anybody else, same way.
Absolutely.
All right, bye, brother.
All right. See you later. Go Cats.
Go Cats.